Okay, yeah. Not too much time to record this next video, but I think it's high time that be done. So latest developments in Transnistria, a couple of attacks. You know, the first one, it was Ministry of Internal Affairs, basically the national security or something building. You know, when I had some doubts, you know, who might have done that. Maybe it was like something internal. It was definitely a political statement, the first attack. Now, you know, this morning there was a second attack on the antennas. Lots of thoughts and lots of ideas, but I want to organize this video around one thing, you know, and this is crucial. I think for Moldova, this is very, very, very important to understand. Is Russia losing this war? You know, because that's what we hear. 95, maybe more % of the media, different reports. This is the claim that Russia is losing the war, operation war, whatever. Let me discuss. I see 4 ways how Russia could lose this war in the next year. So I'm not talking about, you know, who's if Russia is losing the war eventually, rather likely, right? But within the next year. And I think this is very important for Moldova. What will happen within the next year? So 4 scenarios for Russia to lose this war in the next year. First one, oil and gas will stop to be bought right now, like today, like this week, you know, by everyone, you know, European Union, like Germany. And I've been watching very nice, you know, different debates and roundtables and, you know, with very, very specific and technical explanation why that cannot be done right now by Germany. But the fact remains, the European Union is buying gas and oil. They're sending back the money to Russia. So the first scenario, everyone stops buying, you know, rare earths, metal, oil, gas, all of this, like this week, you know, and in this way they will show their commitment. Yes, I mean, would we have a recession? Definitely, right? Maybe of a magnitude we'd not be able to deal with for the next 10 years. But this is scenario number 1. That's not the worst scenario, I'd say. Yes, that would lead to hunger. Yes, that would lead to shortages and deficits in many markets, you know, worldwide. Yeah, gas market and oil market and foods markets and so on. But that is not happening. And again, you know, Germany very technical explains why it's not possible. If it's taken, you know, if this oil and gas is taken from the world market, that would lead to devastating results. Again, scenario 1. Scenario number 2, coup in Moscow, where Putin is removed. Well, 83% of Russians, they support what, you know, Putin right now. Well, that's the official information. Well, let's say it's not 83%. Let's say it's 70%. Yeah, even 65. So I don't think that is happening right now. I mean, even if Putin gets killed like today, I think the whole machine, I don't think it will just stop working. But again, that is a scenario. It is a possibility. So there is a coup, and that would mean, you know, maybe slowly, gradually over time, within a month or 2 months, everything stops. Scenario number 3. China and India and many other countries, you know, some other countries, they stop supporting Russia. And again, there was very nice analysis on that. And Xi Jinping, he calls Vladimir Putin like the best friend ever in the whole world, which is like a big thing for the Chinese. at least for, for him personally, definitely. So there will be, of course, this re-election in 7-8 months in China. Well, will he be careful what he does, to be re-elected one more time? Or could he just use this time to do anything possible, to support China? His served, what, 2 terms, a third term? I think technically, again, it's not possible. But again, things can happen in China. Very interesting here also, this meeting that they had, before the Olympics and so on. It was basically them and the interpreters, I think. And what was said, so many experts on China, they do say that, well, definitely Vladimir Putin explained what he was planning to do, or mentioned or discussed that with Xi Jinping. I would probably go a little bit further, and I think maybe he was even like rather frank there and basically told Xi Jinping, look, it's either China supports us, is with us, or there is no other way but World War III, might be even like nuclear. And so it's up to you. I mean, it's up to you. If you support us, we cannot do this alone, against NATO, against the rest of the world. So if you support us, you will stop World War III from happening. And I think Xi Jinping is now led by this mission. Again, not saying that indeed happened, but very likely that something like that was discussed there. So I would not count on China and India, stopping the support anytime soon. Again, within this year, don't think so. And scenario number 4, the obvious one, I mean, the one that will probably not happen, but that would stop the war, and Russia would lose in that case. That would be NATO getting completely involved in the situation, moving their troops, conventional troops first, but I'm not sure they will do that. Could go nuclear, the whole thing. But again, that would be one of the ways. How likely? Not very likely, but it's on the table, definitely. Talking about Transnistria, some people say, well, nothing will happen there. But I thought about this even like first day of the war when it started. Would Russia wait for another 30 years and another chance, to actually claim Transnistria, get to Transnistria? Doesn't make any sense, right? Would they say like, okay, we're going to stop now at Odessa or at Nikolaev or at Kherson, and we will wait for another 30 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years to actually get all the way to Transnistria? I don't think that's what they want to do. Again, talking about like Russia losing, yeah, I understand the arguments and the claims. I mean, they started from the north, it didn't work out. They surrounded Kiev. Did they want to take it, or they wanted to show a certain thing, their position? I don't know. And then the sinking of the Moskva ship, cruiser. I would say both of them were mistakes, probably were mistakes. And withdrawing the troops from the north, first getting there and then withdrawing. So we could say, yeah, they lost there. Let's say, I mean, not even lost, it's like back to status quo there. And definitely a mistake is the loss of this cruiser ship Moskva, which was a flagship. My argument here, Russia, I think, could afford to make maybe 5 or 6 more mistakes like this before they actually lose the war. And again, all of these arguments, they lead me in scenarios. They lead me to the idea that, well, I don't think they're losing in the next year, with the sanctions and everything. Well, they might in 3 years or 5 years or 7 years. But the point is that they will be getting to Transnistria. I mean, I just cannot see any other scenario. And it was very interesting today, maybe an hour ago, there was an interview with Igor Botskan, who is a political expert, analyst from Moldova. And he says, well, but at least we need to show that to make it clear that we will fight. And even if, well, that's the interesting part, even if we lose, then later on we'll be able to claim that it was annexation, that, it was illegal, and so on. Well, I'm really worried about that part. If we lose, considering that based on everything what I've said, I don't think Russia is losing within the next year. And to show the willingness that we're ready to fight, that means, thousands of Moldovans dying, then later on to claim the territory back. I don't think it's a great idea. And I'm actually surprised by this comment, this answer, the way he sees the situation here. I mean, and I think we should not probably fight. And, later on, the argument could be if imagine that in 2 years or 3 years, Russia loses completely, it does not maybe exist anymore. And then there are many questions towards Moldova, like why it is first one. Well, we just couldn't, right? We didn't have enough resources to actually do that, to fight. Like, did you want, tens of thousands of Moldovans to die, maybe more? And we are more than that, and the constitution says we're a neutral state. So there are many good arguments. Then later on, even if Russia loses, not to explain to Europe and the European Union why, let's say, we did not fight. However, again, is lots of experts like Mersheimer and Cohen and some others, I've been watching say, some of them say they just cannot see a scenario in which Russia loses, because it's so close, because they have so many interests in Ukraine, because of, curtailed but certain economic power that they still have, and the big army and so on. So, I mean, again, could they lose in such a way so that it's status quo? I don't think it's happening. So the only way they lose is, that Russia does not exist in 2, 3, 4 years. It's divided up in chunks. I agree with all of those who say they cannot see it happening. So like none of the scenarios they have lead actually to Russia losing in Ukraine. So I'm not talking about, possible like future engagements somewhere else, but in Ukraine, it is just impossible. When people compare this war to Afghanistan, some other conflicts like Chechnya and so on, well, anyway, that's not a very bright scenario either, right? Are we talking about 5 or 10 years of guerrilla war, in Ukraine? Let's say in Moldova, possibly. Well, I don't know. I think in Moldova, many people love democracy and well-being too much because they have worked or have lived in Europe. So their values now changed a lot. I mean, it's different people from like 1990s or before that, when we had basically nothing to lose. Now people have a lot to lose. So they have families in Europe. They're settled in many countries, like Italy and Germany and some other countries in Europe. They have good or better jobs, and well, I don't think they're ready just to go and die for any party involved here. Again, I have heard today that some other countries might get involved in this conflict on our territory here. That's a bad idea, and I think we need to be smarter. Whoever comes, whoever enters first here, and I don't think we should support any side, because basically any side, or both, will lead to destruction of Moldova. I'm not talking about this possible victory in 5 or 10 years. Well, first, like destruction of Moldova will happen. All of this money and resources we got to rebuild our roads, infrastructure, and fight with corruption, and improve the level of life in Moldova, they would be negated completely. And I don't think that's the path for us. So absolute neutrality, like 100% neutrality, working together with territories like being that, Transnistria or Gagauzia, right? Working together, sharing the information. I would even go further and say, well, share the information with the public. Really be involved in negotiations, both sides, even three sides, continue talking with Ukraine, continue talking with the European Union, continue talking with Russia, basically explaining to each side, there is nothing to hide. We don't want to be the victims of any possible invasion. Not a big country. We would not change dramatically any outcome of this war. And we just don't want to be involved. And yeah, maybe everyone will not like us for this, maybe the European Union will not like us. But yeah, well, what does it mean to like us, right? I mean, are you telling people, if you don't die, then we will hate you? Well, I'm fine with that. You can hate me all day. But, I don't think we should be dying. The people in Moldova should be dying at all. So definitely continuing the conversation, the political negotiation, with all of these three sides and other parties who are interested, but basically telling them we are not going to take any actions against any other side. So to Russians, we say we are not going to take any actions against Ukraine or the European Union. To the European Union, we'll say, well, we're not taking any action, against Ukraine or against Russia. And to Ukraine, that would be the hardest, basically we say that we are not taking any action against either European Union or Russia. We have been helping you with the refugees, and we are ready to do that even more. Do we have to? Well, I'm not sure we have to. I don't think anyone has the right now to make us do things, right? I'm a bit surprised by, some very young representatives of Ukraine that dare, okay, Zelensky, he's in power, right? He's the president, so he has the right to do that. But some of these young experts or political activists or even public servants from Ukraine who blame different countries, they blame Germany, they blame, let's say, France or Italy, lesser extent, maybe some other European countries for not helping more, not helping enough. And, I mean, if you want, you can start blaming Moldova, but at least we will not bury, 50,000 or 70 or 80,000 of our people. So you can say you don't like us, you hate us, that we should do certain things, but we don't have to do anything that would lead to death and destruction of Moldova. And I think that is actually the scenario, that's the way. You don't do anything that would lead to destruction of Moldova, and that is in the interest of Moldova. Well, let's see what happens.